Have you ever seen a film fail so badly that even the lead actress had to sit in an empty theater just to process it? Because that's precisely what occurred with Rachel Zegler, who didn't just star in Disney's Snow White. She led one of the most brutal Hollywood flops ever witnessed. Since the movie's second weekend figures and critiques, this wasn't just a box office failure. It was a career-defining disaster. From political disputes to co-star conflicts, Rachel didn't just burn bridges. She torched the entire realm in flames. And now, after months of dragging this film,
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Yeah.
Through every controversy imaginable, Rachel Zegler totally lost control after Snow White tanked. You know the flop is real when the lead actress shows up to her own movie and the room is so silent you can hear popcorn kernels sobbing. Rachel brought her pals, probably for emotional backup, to what appeared more like a private viewing than a major Disney release. Supporters likely claim they just booked the entire theater, but I don't know. Everyone seems to be sharing clips of vacant cinemas. Even when I was dragged to see it, there was nobody there. And Rachel also recorded herself purchasing the tickets. So, yeah, this is just humiliating. And Instagram captured it all, turning what should have been a triumph into meme fodder.
Weird.
These clips just radiated, "Hey guys, come watch me ruin my career in 4K" vibes. Like, you know when someone attempts to own the drama, pretending they're in on the joke to make it seem chill or defuse the criticism? Yeah, that failed here. It just made the whole thing even more ridiculous. So now, after the movie's second weekend, let's discuss figures because they are agonizing. Snow White reportedly cost Disney $370 million to produce and promote. So we are approaching $400 million spent, attempting to reimagine a cherished classic into a modern ethical story. And in return for that $370 million, what did they get? A $43 million opening and audience walkouts. Even Dumbo surpassed this, and that elephant literally soared away from theaters. So, in its second weekend, Snow White experienced the steep 66% decline in ticket sales, earning $14.2 million and dropping to second place behind the action flick A Hardworking Man, which, by the way, had 2,000 fewer theaters and no massive brand like Disney supporting it. So, just let that sink in. A simple action movie outperformed Disney's most iconic fairy tale, which had been out for 2 weeks, compared to A Hardworking Man that's only been out for 1.
Reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
That alone.
Even The Chosen Last Supper, with half the number of theaters, nearly overtook Snow White. But if we look at the revenue per screen average, both films outshine Snow White. And then, with Minecraft coming out next week, Snow White's finished. So, as of March 30th, 2025, the film's total gross stood at approximately $66.9 million in the United States and Canada, with an additional $75.8 million from other regions, totaling around $142.8 million globally. So it's confirmed, Snow White flopped, because never mind breaking even. Experts predict the film will incur a loss exceeding $100 million. But to add insult to injury, the movie also plummeted its IMDb rating, sinking to as low as 5 out of 10 at one point. That's not just poor, that's should we erase this film from existence? Poor. And this is the same studio that made the Lion King remake a billion-dollar success. Yet for Snow White, entire theaters were deserted. People were sharing seat. Maps with more blue than a sea, which is somewhat ironic because before the debut, Rachel boldly proclaimed people would queue up to see her films. And well, that aged spectacularly. That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see. Yeah, they waited in line. All right to buy tickets to anything but Snow White. So when that clip resurfaced, it was like the cosmos mocking her in 4K. Because the issue is Rachel Zegler didn't just act in it. She talked it into ruin. She dubbed the original 1937 version.
I don't need your business. Thanks.
But
Odd criticized the prince as a weirdo and said the tale needed updating. Reality is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated. There's a big focus on her love story, with a guy who literally stalks her. That alone angered Disney diehards who grew up on the OG fairy tale. Then she doubled down by telling entire political groups not to watch the film. Bro, you're the lead in a family-friendly movie, not a political rally. Never mind the fact she told like half the country, I don't need your business, thanks. But I guess they obeyed. So, there's nothing wrong with having political views. But she could have kept them separate from an iconic family-friendly movie. And obviously by now, we all know about the friction between Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, resulting in Disney needing to enhance Gadot's security after so many hate and death threats following Rachel's posts. But things got even uglier. When Rachel made a strange dig about Gal being a beauty queen, and then omitted her entirely in a heartfelt Instagram post thanking the cast. Coincidence or shade? You decide. Because after all of this, I wouldn't be shocked if Gal Gadot has a faint grin on her face after all.
It's Hollywood, baby.
And dragging her movie through a storm of controversies. You know, it's bad when the producer has to personally fly out just to have a one-on-one about your behavior. Even Spielberg reportedly raised an eyebrow at how out of control it had gotten. Things were so chaotic, Rachel had to post an apology, which was so out of character for her, it might as well have had Mickey Mouse's signature at the bottom. But fans weren't buying it, and the damage was done. Of course, actions have consequences, so it seemed like Hollywood started snubbing Rachel. She was supposedly set to voice a character in Toy Story 5. Cut. Rumored to star in Pirates of the Caribbean. Gone. Horror trilogy Blumhouse. Well, not anymore because it appears nobody wants to work with someone who brings more drama than box office revenue. But after the flop, Rachel posted how Snow White was transformative and moving for her. But between the empty theater posts, awkward online silence about Gal Gadot, and endless damage control, the breakdown was basically complete. The film is now used as a punchline for Disney's identity crisis. And Rachel Zegler, who once seemed destined for stardom, has become a walking example of how quickly Hollywood can turn on you when you mix politics, ego, and a $370 million fairy tale. It's Hollywood baby huge, so from picking fights with fans to sparking co-star tension and watching her own movie in an empty theater. She didn't just have a rough press tour. She spiraled into a full-blown public disaster, because right. Now Rachel is the lead in a film that's been buried under memes. Fan backlash and studio regrets, so let me in no in comments. Comments, is this the end of Rachel Zegler, or does she have shot at redeeming it royal? This is Snow hastily after this royal until next time. Time remember. Remember that fairy tale ending does always come with happily. Ever after, especially if you're Rachel Zegler, peace.